Hanging Out with Clement
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
So, on our Hanging Out feature this morning, I'm really excited to be hanging out with award-winning jazz artist Nomfundo Xaluva. She is a celebrated jazz vocalist. She's a composer. She's an educator. She's a senior lecturer, actually, in jazz studies at UCT. And I have to say, I'm a big fan of her. I've enjoyed all of her albums. I love watching her live, and I've had the privilege to see her live a couple of times. And she'll be performing at the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz, by the way, this coming weekend. And she's one person I can't wait to see. I think her performance is on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. Nomfundo, welcome to the show. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement, and good morning to the 702 viewers. And you're spot on. I'm on Saturday night.
Can't wait for it. I can't wait for it. Can I do my song requests now already?
Is this why you've invited me? You want dibs on performing this?
This is me trying to take advantage of this position I'm in now. Thank you so much for making time for us. And I really admire you as an artist. I think you know that by now. I really think you are so incredible. I love watching you. So I'm a big fan myself. So I can't wait to get to know you better over the next hour together with the listeners. And I want to take it from the beginning. Because my understanding is you grew up in Gqeberha, and I'm trying to understand how did you then fall in love with music? Because normally people who end up even studying music, you'll realize that actually in their family there was somebody who inspired them in some way. Was that your story?
Well, look, how I answer might be quite different to what my family members would say, because they somehow think that they had some DNA contribution to the artist that I am. But yes, I grew up, I was raised by my grandparents, my late grandparents, and my grandfather was an avid lover of jazz. He collected records, and so that music was always playing at home. And my grandmother loved choral music, so on Sunday afternoons, you know, that was the music that was playing at home. I don't really remember a moment where I fell in love with music, but what I remember is visiting a friend of mine for a weekend, and I must have been about 10. And she had a piano. There was a piano at home, at her house, and I'd never seen one in person. And there was something about sitting on a piano stool and actually touching the keys and plonking them. And I think from that moment on, I was completely sort of enamored with the instrument and with the sound it made. And I've never left that stool since then. And then I've studied music when I, at the time, what was referred to as a Model C school in Makanda, which was Grahamstown then. I started classical piano lessons when I was 12. And I've been a scholar of music since. But obviously, I think the jazz bug bit much later. In fact, I only started to really love jazz once I'd already registered for it at university.
That's fascinating. So how did that then influence you going through studying jazz, understanding the techniques that, an ordinary singer who hasn't really studied music like that would understand? How did your education around this genre influence how you do music? Are you like a stickler for, let's get it right, like this technique, this has to sound like really this is jazz? Are you very particular and rigid around your approach?
I am, if I'm being honest. I think, anyone who has studied a craft, right? It doesn't matter whether it's artistic or in any field. When you acquire a skill and you study it over years, you do become a stickler because you want to do it well. And then when you get into the education space, it becomes even more important because you want your students to do it well. And so I think because I was fortunate enough to study classical music from a young age and to sing in school choirs and to be on stage, and then getting into university and learning, and jazz for me was really an acquired taste. I mean it when I say I only really started to love the music probably third year into my jazz degree. It was just a lot to absorb sonically. It was just so out there. But because I had watched Abo Judith Sipuma come out of UCT, or Jimmy Dludlu, this really incredible crop of musicians that were coming out of UCT, and I was like, that's what I want to study, and so yes, and I think because I studied it for such a long time, it was easier for me to find my way in the academic space of jazz, right? Which is very tricky now that I'm sitting on the other side as a lecturer, when I see students wanting to come in and auditioning, but they don't have that early beginning. And I think that's the thing. We need to go back to that early beginning, so that we don't just do it because we love it, but we do it because we're actually very good at it.
Yeah. So who would you say are some of the artists that inspired you deeply as you were studying jazz, as you were thinking about or in contemplating actually also like releasing an album? Who are those artists for you?
So Sibongile Khumalo definitely stands out as one of the key artists who influenced me. And I think a part of that is because she was the first voice in South African jazz, not only just as a voice, but vocally, to lend her instrument to the jazz genre. And this is sort of after the era of the 50s and 60s, Abo Miriam Makeba and Dolly Ratebe, the big five, Dorothy Masuka and the likes. But Sibongile was really that person who married the classical with the jazz, right? Because she herself was a scholar of music. She was a soprano, her father having been a professor. And so she had that classical grounding and yet was so adept in the jazz genre. And so listening to her albums became a really formidable form of schooling for me as a young singer at the time. And then, of course, as part of the jazz program at UCT, we studied the American greats. So we studied the albums of your Ella Fitzgerald, your Sarah Vaughns, your Betty Carters, and the likes. And so it was really this kind of very hybrid, this hybrid pool of influences. But Sibongile, in terms of local, stands out. And then, of course, Miriam Makeba. And I think that's a common influence amongst singers, not just in South Africa, but I think around the world, really.
Yeah. And I mean, you studied her so much. And we'll continue this conversation after the break. You can join it by sending us a WhatsApp voice note on 072-702-1702. Maybe you're a big fan of Nomfundo Xaluva. Maybe you've got a question for her about her musical journey. The WhatsApp line, 072-702-1702. It's 17 minutes now after 10.
Hanging out with Clement
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
20 minutes after 10 o'clock, we are hanging out with Nomfundo Xaluva on our Hanging Out feature this morning. So what questions do you have? Any comments? You can call on 011-883-0702. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702.
Clement, I love Nomfundo Xaluva. Ndiyamthanda. When I was on a journey to teach my daughter isiXhosa, because I'm married to a Pedi guy, so I first taught her the song Baqabene Oqam Baqabene Ngenqondo and she loves the song, so that's how she started learning Xhosa at the age of 7. Thank you.
Oh, that's amazing. That's a beautiful story. Tabi, you are calling us from Sentin. Good morning.
Hi, Clement.
Hi, Tabi. Go ahead. Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I've got a question, but before that, I just wonder if Nomfundo understands how great she is, her beauty, her intelligence. Does she get it, She's one of a kind, and honestly, if I do go to the Joy of Jazz this weekend, she'll be the only reason for me to go. But my question is, does she have an album with her hubby? Do they ever perform together?
Okay, yeah, Tabi. Yeah, I'm sure you get this a lot. Thank you, Tabi, in Sentin, for your question. Nomfundo, I'm sure you get this a lot. Hey, people say, with Mandi Sijanchi, of course, your husband, I've never seen you guys perform together, actually.
trust 702 listeners to just go in. They don't waste time. They're like, listen, this is 702. We extract.
We don't beat
truth
around
here.
the bush, okay?
We don't beat around the bush here. I know exactly where I am now. Firstly, incredible to the first call about her daughter learning which is really beautiful. To get the sounds of the language. I love that. I absolutely love that. And, do I know how great I am? I think, I have a sense of it, but and I have a sense of that because I know how hard I work, and I know that to be great, one has to stay teachable, and so I'm within that. Yes. So Mandisi and I have performed together for so many years before he became famous. Oh. Because suddenly he became famous, and then people were like, no, when are you guys going to perform together? I'm like, remember the first time I did the Cape Town Jazz, and the first time I did Joy of Jazz, and when I did this festival and that, he was the trumpeter in my band, and he was also the backing vocalist in my band.
Oh, wow.
And so yes, and there is an album. In fact, on my first album, Kusile, there's a duet on there titled Wandi Libala.
Yes.
And Mandisi is on that duet.
Yes.
So I invite people now, retrospectively, to go and listen to that. But look, the requests have been coming for some time now. Are we going to do something? And the long and short of it is yes, but we want to do something in our own time, on our own terms, right?
Yeah.
We want it to be really quite special. And so, yes, we know that it's something that people would love to see, and we will make it happen.
Oh, I can't wait for that. I really can't wait for that. What a talented family. Hey? So let's also play some music here. Tell me about the song Zizi, because it's in your album, and I'll ask you questions about just this album broadly when we come back from the song. But what was going through your mind when you were working on Zizi, and what sort of feeling message were you trying to portray with the song?
So Zizi is the name of my daughter, right? And she's named after her clan name, which is her father's clan name, Odlamini Amazizi. And so people will often refer to Mandisi, maybe you've seen it, they call him Zizi. So that's my daughter's name. And in fact, the music to Zizi I'd written back in 2014, sitting at a keyboard, and I was messing around, and I played this melody, and I had long dreadlocks, but I filmed it. And so all these years later, in 2023, I opened my laptop, and the iCloud what had gone and mined that video. And I clicked on it, and I was like, wow, what a great melody, what a great piece of music. Wow. And 30 minutes later, I penned the lyrics to my daughter. And the thing about Zizi, the line that I think people really need to kind of listen out for is when I say she danced inside me and silenced my grief, because I found out that I was having her 4 months after I'd lost my grandmother. So she came at the perfect time. And so it's a celebration of life, but also an acknowledgement that, had she not arrived, I could have sunk into the dungeons of grief. And so it's just a beautiful tribute to her.
Oh, what a song. Can I be your
Did I hear you singing?
Yes.
Did I just hear you singing?
Yes,
okay.
ma'am, you did. Can I be your backing vocalist at the Joy of Jazz?
Anytime. I love that. Anytime.
What you
bring
wish.
a tenor, something there.
Or a
Clem,
baritone.
please
Or a baritone.
baritone.
It's 10:30. Let's get the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Nomfundo Xaluva. She's on our Hanging Out feature this morning. Keep your calls coming, your WhatsApps as well on 072-702-1702.
Hanging Out with Clement
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
24 minutes before 11 o'clock, we've got Nomfundo Xaluva, an incredible jazz artist, on our Hanging Out feature this morning. And I'm taking your calls and your WhatsApps as well. So let's start with Nomapelo, who's calling us from Johannesburg. Nomapelo, good morning.
Morning, Clement. Morning, you've got my sister there, my little sister. Nomfundo Xaluva. Yes, Nomfundo grew up, we were family friends with the Tukani family, the Mhlanhlas. So, Nomfundo, I just want to say we're so proud of you. From Usem, Ubuli, Unozipho, Xoliso, Mathepo, Xolsile. You know them. They're so proud of you and Nati as the Tukani family. And Mhlanhla family, we're very proud of you. Actually, the whole Ford what village is proud of you.
That's
so well done.
That's amazing. Thank you. That's it's so good to hear from you. That's incredible. Thank you.
Nomapelo, thank you so much for that. Here's a WhatsApp that's also come through.
Hi, Clement. Hi, Sis Nomfundo. Listen, I'm a fan of Miss Nomfundo. I will be there on Saturday. I promise you I'll be right there on the first row, first seat. Can't wait to be mesmerized by your voice. It's Gugu from Pretoria.
Gugu, see you there on Saturday at the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz. So there's a question that actually comes. Someone said, now, when you speak to Nomfundo, please ask her this question. Your last album, you last released an album, was it in 2015, if I'm not mistaken? And this person says, one thing that she's always appreciated about your music is how it's able to stand in the gap for you during the time when you are absent and you are not releasing any albums or you're not performing. What do you think that communicates about the music that you make? And is it something that you have picked up yourself? Because there are artists who do get worried when they haven't released in a while. They get a bit worried. Oh, okay, we have to think constantly around when are we releasing music? How do you approach that as an artist?
So that's right. I mean, my second album from now on came out in 2015 and then Undilapa only came out 2024.
Yeah.
So there was a 9-year gap between the two albums, bearing in mind that, let's say, sort of 4-ish years of that 9 was the COVID period, right?
Yeah.
But Ndilapa, actually, the whole ethos, in fact, how it's titled with the title tracks speaks exactly about that, about the fact that I'm the kind of artist who I don't want hyper visibility. I don't want to be a machine that's churning out music all the time because I want to stay relevant, right? I really believe that the music is there, the art is there, all the time. Ndilapa, I'm there in the work that I do. And so it was part deliberate, but also part circumstantial. I went to business school in 2018 to do my MBA. And so I did take a break as well to pursue a different avenue in terms of my qualifications, just studying, upskilling myself. And so, yeah, and I don't feel the pressure to always put out new music. I think I trust in the songs and the work that I put out, and because I model my work and my craft, after people who also, I think, have the same kind of thinking, that you write music when there's something to be said.
Yes.
And I believe that very strongly. And so so for me, like, my album is brand new. Anyone who would ask me now, when are we going to get album number 4? I'm like, what do you mean? Because you've got to let the music live. You have to give the albums an opportunity to live and to grow and to reach as many people, and the work must do its work. And so if you're just always putting out an album after an album, you shortchange and you curtail the work of the previous album. And I think now we have to work against that pressure that you have to always be putting something out. Otherwise, are you even an artist? No, and so that's my thing. Like with this album, Undilapa, it's an infant. It's got years. And even my first album, Kusile, which has the Yakhali Nkomo, Jerusalem. When people listen to that now, it sounds brand new.
Yeah.
And when people listen to Thando Luhle from my second album, or Tembalam, it's because that's what music is supposed to do. It's not a factory.
Yeah.
And because I take my art seriously. So she's completely right. that's how I do it.
And as well as people who consume your music, I think you pick that a lot when you pick up when there are artists who are just churning albums, and sometimes there's like a soul missing there, because it's like some artists want to release just for the sake of releasing, and you've got other artists who, as you say, they wait until there's something to be said, because that's what artistry is about, isn't it? And sometimes when those people, even when they've taken 10 years, they haven't released, the minute they release that album, you connect with it, and it speaks to the heart, because there's actually something to be said. There's a connection of sorts happening spiritually. I want to ask you though about Hymn for Bully, and I must tell you, when they sent us, the producers showed me the songs you've picked to play, I was like, why is that song not here? Because I know, and many of my listeners love it. I hosted the education minister, Usiviwe, Kwahube, on the show.
Yes.
And that was, in fact, it's her favorite song of all times. And, we played that song, and the reaction from the listeners was crazy. People who were talking about what it meant to them, how they were able to relate to that. And I really, if you don't mind, I would like to play that song, because the listeners are also up here asking about the Hymn for Bully. Can we play it?
Absolutely.
Can you tell that story again, please? Why? Because you spoke earlier about Uzizi and writing a song about your daughter and what that meant, given what you had experienced as well around your grandmother. Just talk to us about Hymn for Bully, and then I'll give the listeners an opportunity to hear it.
So, Hymn for Bully, as I said earlier, I mean, I was raised by my grandmother and so the mama, that typical sort of black life where your grandmother is your mother, right? And she passed away in December 2020 due to COVID related complications. And she went from being completely healthy to being, and she was gone. It was a dark time. And I remember, some months before that, we had been home, and my husband was there, and we were just chatting and bantering. And she said to Mandisi, listen, when I pass on, I rely on you to sing my hymn at my funeral. Intonga yam, iyawuhlatyelwa nguwe. And I mean, we're laughing, we're not thinking anything of it. And literally 3 months later, there was Mandisi singing Thixo wasebethelehe at the top of his voice, in front of Buli's coffin. And so I composed Hymn for Bully as an adaptation of that hymn, which the listeners might find it familiar. Ba bi ba bi ba 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 ya ba ba bi ba 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 bi ba bi ba bi da di ya bi ba bi do da. And so I took that hymn that was Indonga Yake and wrote and adapted it to what then became Hymn for Bully. And I put it on the album as a tribute. And I always say on stage that people resonate with it, not only because it's that, it's that when you write something that expresses a deep pain, but also melodically, because if you're a church goer, it sounds like something that you've heard before. And that's because, yes, you have, because it's adapted from an existing hymn. So yeah, that's Hymn for Bully.
Oh, what a hymn.
Good morning, Clement and Nomfundo. Oh, now I get, often when Nomfundo sings, I felt like she was channeling Miriam Makeba. So the fact that she studied her music, and just like most of us grew up listening to it, she sounds so much like her, especially when she sings those click sounds. Oh, we really love her music. Thank you so much for hosting her today, Clement. Thanks, Dima.
Hey, Dima, she graduated cum laude with research on Miriam Makeba. So trust that she really, really studied her hard.
Hanging out with Clement
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
9 minutes before 11 o'clock, we are just about to wrap up our conversation with Nomfundo Xaluva. Someone is asking here, Nomfundo, what else do you listen to when you are not listening to Miriam Makeba, or any of the artists that you mentioned above. You did mention Sibongile Khumalo as well. So can we get maybe one favorite song of yours from Sibongile Khumalo that we can play? And then we're going to come back. Yeah. What's that one song for you?
Tando's Groove.
Why?
And it was her birthday yesterday, Clement, by the way. It was Sibongile's birthday yesterday. So I thought, I would put her songs. Tando's Groove, it's just it's so bright, and it's, and I love it because there are no lyrics. So she does what we call in jazz she scats. But it's such a beautiful, bright, and also I think the first time I ever saw her live at the Grahamstown at the National Arts Festival, she opened with that song and I burst into tears. I was still a student then. And so, when I listen to that, it's a very difficult song. So I sometimes warm up to it. I think it reflects her incredible personality, Tando's Groove on the album Quest. And then also, what do I listen to? Kwaito.
Oh, yeah?
I will listen to Kwaito forever. I grew up on, listen, on my playlist, you must know that I've got TKZ all over there, or Tebe, or Trombis. I listen to a lot of Kwaito, actually, because I grew up on that stuff. So I love it. It's definitely one of my favorite genres. And then, I listen to Amapiano as well. Yeah. I used to listen to a lot of R&B, not so much anymore. I listen to anything that's good. And my students are always introducing me to new music. So that's also like a great advantage of being surrounded by students, is they're always, what do they say? They're plugging me. Yeah, all the time. They're plugging
nice music. All right, here's Tando's Groove by Sibongile Khumalo. Oh, what a beautiful, beautiful song. What do you still want to do, Nomfundo, in the music industry? You are teaching it. You have released albums. What is it that you think still is on the list of that to do?
So, I've started my PhD, definitely. So that is the key sort of thing that I'm doing now. But in the industry, I want to teach. I want to continue to teach, and to educate, and to mentor. I think that's where my passion lies. And of course, I'll always be writing music, but ultimately I just want to give as many people a leg up as I possibly can, in upskilling them as artists. So for as long as I have the platform, I'll always be on that mission.
Yeah. Bayang shout Allah, some of the listeners are saying, why didn't you play Wendy Le? Well, come to the Standard Bank Job Jazz. Maybe you'll be lucky for her to perform that on Saturday. What time are you on stage?
10:45, Dinner Lady.
Yeah, 10:45, Dinner Lady stage. Make sure you come see Nomfundo Xaluva perform at the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz. Nomfundo, thank you so much for making time. And my goodness, thank you for giving us such amazing, soulful, heart-to-heart music. We appreciate your artistry, your talent, and we're so glad to be in this era, to be part of this generation that's blessing us with such amazing music. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Clement. I'm very happy to have been here, and I just wanted to say I feel exactly the same way about you and about your work. Thank you very much.
Yabonga. See you on Saturday on stage.
See ya. This